a lot of people create certain stress in their life, and a lot of times this stress shows up in the nervous system. A lot of people mismanage their diet, mismanage their lifestyle, mismanage their relationships, mismanage their work, over or under exercise. It creates a stress response inside of them. It creates a fight or flight response in the nervous system. And what happens is that kind of creates a wind up energetically inside of them. And the ritual or the routine is actually the release valve for that wind up. So if you think about like what you were sharing earlier, like a sports performance, a lot of people have pre-performance anxiety or stress or nervousness. So the ritual in that situation is a way of kind of outgassing that stress, outgassing that energy, and unwinding that wind up. It's kind of like if you shake the soda bottle, taking the cap off is kind of like the release valve. The ritual is pulling the cap off, and the stress response that gets released was the mismanagement of our physical, mental, emotional relationship, whatever it might be, in our internal state. So that's one element too, is the release valve aspect of that energetically.
Right. Okay. So if you then look at something like anxiety, which I didn't, I heard the word, but I didn't really kind of understand what it was, and I
Yeah.
didn't know like how do I, am I feeling anxious or not? Because it's obviously, and I suppose in certain situations, I'll use myself again. If there's something that you're kind of dreading, or not a situation you're not looking forward to, or a difficult situation, then you kind of get this strange sort of feeling, and it's not necessarily nice. So is in terms of anxiety then, is this just like a normal feeling, that almost like a kind of an elevated nervousness that is kind of meant to be there, but you have to figure out how to deal with it? But then in some people, can that then just sort of take over their whole life, so they're just anxious about everything, everything's an anxious
Yeah.
situation?
So I'll give you two perspectives to that. Number one is, if you think about what anxiety feels like, for example, before this show, I was experiencing some, pre-podcast anxiety, and what I was feeling was some butterflies in my stomach. My heart was beating a little bit faster. I had some, my palms were sweating a little bit. I had some tingliness, and that felt like I associated that with anxiety. I labeled that, the story inside of my mind was, this is anxiety. So we equate that as a negative thing. But then if you shift gears and you say, okay, I'm going on my first date, I'm going to pick up my girlfriend, and I'm so excited to see her and go have this first date together. What happens is you tune in, you're like, oh, I have butterflies in my stomach. My heart's beating a little faster. My palms are a little sweat. I feel a little tingly. But we associate that with excitement. So we say, oh, that's a positive emotion. So we're willing to feel the positive one, and we attach ourselves to, oh, excitement, this is great. And we try and divorce or disassociate ourselves from the anxiety because we associate that with negative. But energetically and physiologically, the two experiences are exactly the same. So one thing I tell people with anxiety is, drop the story and drop the label and drop into your body and feel the energetic experience, feel the sensations of it. And what you'll realize is, one, it passes. So as you allow yourself to feel your emotions, it's kind of like allowing food to move through your digestive system, and eventually it gets eliminated. But trying to resist or disassociate and not feel the emotion like anxiety, or the feeling like anxiety, that's kind of like emotional constipation, where it just kind of gets trapped. And that's where people struggle with it. It's like the old saying, what you resist persists. So that's one thing, is drop the story, drop the label, and drop into your body, and allow yourself to experience the energetic and physiological experience of it. And then it simply moves right through you, just like food. The other elements is one thing that I've meditated on a lot recently. And I asked myself, is anxiety actually a feeling, or is anxiety the avoidance of feeling? A lot of times people are anxious because there's feelings and emotions underneath the anxiety that they don't want to experience. So the experience of anxiety is almost like you trying to jump outside of yourself, which is never going to happen because you're in this body in this lifetime. So the experience of anxiety is not necessarily a feeling. The experience of anxiety is the avoidance of feeling.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if I get the two, and I kind of get where you're going there. And I suppose sometimes if you are anxious about a situation, then, in some cases that can also go into maybe like anger, which would you say that is kind of anger that you're feeling like this about something that making yourself feel bad unnecessarily? Is that probably a bad thing for you to feel? And like you say, you should just probably say, look, just deal with the feeling and realize that it's just a feeling, and
We get
maybe
angry
kind of,
that we're feeling this way.
yeah, like angry that you're feeling this way about a situation, that you're kind of allowing that situation to even make you feel uncomfortable in some sort of way as well, like more in the negative side.
And to me, that's a lot of the root of that is a lot of cultural and societal programming. So what happens for example, as a child, a newborn baby, they're born in a state of oneness. They're born in a state of wholeness. There's no differentiation of good or bad or right or wrong, or positive emotions and negative emotions. When a baby wants to laugh, it laughs. When a baby wants to cry, it cries. It's fully in oneness with all experience. And then as we go through our childhood, and parents and teachers and coaches and mentors and priests and rabbis, we're in download mode. So we're downloading from the outer environment. Okay, this is good, this is bad. Anger, that's bad. Anxiety, that's bad. Excitement, that's good. Happiness, that's good. Sadness, that's bad. So we start polarizing our experience into these two categories of positive and negative. And what happens is the whole column, anything that we consider negative, we try and disassociate and divorce ourselves from. And everything we consider positive, we try and attach ourselves to. And that's the root of a lot of suffering. So one thing that I share with people is we want to practice sitting in the middle, where we're willing to feel anything that we consider bad, and we're actually willing to feel everything we consider good, but we're not attached to either or. So you're kind of in the middle of the experience, open to the negative, open to the positive, and you actually get behind those polarities. So for me, the anger about feeling anxiety, or to me, that feels less like anger. It actually feels more like shame. Like we're ashamed of feeling anxious about this, or we're ashamed of feeling X, Y, and Z. And to me, that's a lot of the societal programming of us polarizing our internal experience of this is a good emotion, this is a bad one. This is a good thought, this is a bad one. And that's the source of a lot of mental health challenges and a lot of suffering.